So as you can see, I'm looking for a font to use, and once I've found it, it's called Cooper Black. I am now using the outline tool to create some outlines to get some colors on the outside. And then you'll see I'll use the rectangle tool to create these rectangles, and I'm rounding them off. And then I use the Pathfinder tool to join them together. And now what I'm doing is I'm essentially editing some of the edges, and now I'll be duplicating that so I can get this sort of retro effect on the sides. And now I'm using the rectangle tool again to make some space for a car, because I thought there was a bit of negative space that I could definitely fill in. And now I'm just looking for an appropriate image that I can take that car from. So after some looking, I found one, and I brought it into Photoshop, where I basically used the selection tool to mask out some of the car, which you'll see me doing here. So as I'm masking out the car, I am going over the lines, and I'm using the magic wand tool to make that a lot easier. And I'm just using the manual selection tool to remove some of the harder parts. I'll export it as a JPEG, and then I will bring that into the AI with the original logo. Now I'm bringing the whole thing back into Photoshop, where I'm using some special effects to make it look rustic, some grain and some noise, and I'm also using a brush that I downloaded from the internet to make it look old. After a little bit more editing and using a cardboard image to make it look like a sticker, I finally finished, and I think it really fits well with my aesthetic of the magazine. So here I'm just making an icon for the cars section of my magazine. I'm first going to start off using the elliptical tool to capture some of the basic circles of the tire. And now I'm going in with the brush tool in Photoshop and my Wacom tablet to trace over the lines. This really just requires a bit of practice and some patience to get it right. As you can see, I'm just sort of going over the darker areas with the brush, and the thickness and stroke is all handled with Wacom and Photoshop, as it changes depending on how much pressure you apply to the pen. Finishing up now, I wanted to make it look like it was shiny, so I used the pen tool again to make some little icons, and I also went on Google Images and just got a glittery texture, which I also used the brush eraser tool to erase any overflow on the edges. I think it turned out really well and really fits with the design of the magazine. So here I wanted to create a retro looking effect on a new photo. So I thought this would be a really great way to turn new photos and make them look old. So first what I'm doing is I'm actually replacing new cars in the background with old ones. So first I select the car that I need, and I use the selection tool to cut it out. Once I've done that, I'll place it in the background, and actually you can see there I'm masking out Sophie's hand using the selection tool and putting the car behind it. And once I've done that with both of the vehicles, I will then go into the adjustments panel to make it look like the lighting fits the same lighting in the photo. You'll see me doing that there. And now what I'm doing is I'm adding some noise and distortion and some blur to make it look like an old film photo. And I'll actually be using a brush tool to add some wear and tear onto the image. And I think the final image really turned out great and really does look like an old photo. So this is where I developed my code for my website. It's called Cloud9. It's a free development space, and as you can see here, this is my website that I've been creating. I've completely created it from scratch. I'm using no templates. However, some of the animations and the gallery effect, I have used pieces of code from other websites. In the end, I'm hoping to create an ebook that I can integrate into the site, and I'm currently following a tutorial to achieve that. So one of the issues I was having was that I wanted there to be no background on some of my images so they could fit in front of other images and you wouldn't see the white background. So what I did was I brought my images into Photoshop, and I used the pen tool to select the shape that I wanted, and then I would just essentially remove the background and I would export it as a PNG. I did this with all the images that I wanted to have no background and just have a transparent background. And as you can see there, the jumper is now over the top of the text and you cannot see the white background. I think this effect looks really good and really clean. So here are just some of my favorite articles that I've finished so far. I really like how the design has turned out. Even though it's not exactly what I had in my head at the beginning, I think it's very clean and it's quite modern, quite minimal. Although some of the use of colors and sort of bold colors and shapes does make it look a bit retro, but I think so far it's looking really good. I do like how the design has turned out, and along with the website, I think it will have sort of a consistent aesthetic feel. Thanks for watching.